Pit Lane, brought to you by Online Invent, and with thanks to our Platinum Star Patreon supporters. Welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane. Well, coming up over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be very busy out at Sandown. Coming up this weekend is the Speed Series. We had Elliot Barber from the Trans-Am Series in last week. Well, our guest tonight is going to be appearing not just this week, but he's also in action at the following weekend, Sandown 500 meeting. He is Clay Richards. He'll be joining us. He's racing TCR and Toyotas in 2 consecutive weeks. So that's coming up. Also joining us a little bit later on, we've got some great live music from our special guest, Matt Cynner. But alongside me, Doc, we've got a lot to go through tonight.
We've got a hell of a lot. Our brakes are on big time. We have to pull it to a stop and get it running again.
There, unlike Shane Van Gisbergen at Queensland Raceway. But right now,
4-hour turnaround.
let's like 4-hour turnaround. We should be so lucky. Okay, let's find out what's been happening around Australia, around the world. This is the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. A record 10th consecutive victory to Max Verstappen with another dominant race drive to win the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Verstappen's teammate Sergio Perez took second place, with pole sitter Carlos Sainz finishing third for Ferrari. In the race, Sainz initially held off Verstappen, but the Dutch driver made a decisive move on lap 15, securing the lead, and from then on, well, he was never in any real danger. Red Bull once again proved superior to the rest of the field, securing another 1-2 finish for the team and winning the team's 15th consecutive race, breaking a record previously held by Ferrari. The team's now seeking to become the first ever Formula One team to win every race in a season.
Australia's Oscar Piastri's Italian Grand Prix was marred by a collision with Lewis Hamilton, resulting in a broken wing. Hamilton received a 5-second penalty for the collision, but managed to finish 6th. Following the race, Hamilton apologised to Piastri, taking full responsibility for the contact. Piastri also made contact with his McLaren teammate Lando Norris, but neither driver sustained damage, fortunately. However, McLaren boss Andrea Stella was furious after the race, warning that the contact between team drivers was unacceptable and adjustments will be made to ensure it doesn't happen again in future.
Well, New Zealand driver Liam Lawson says he was disappointed at just missing out on a point at last weekend's race, but the Kiwi driver will have more opportunities, with the unfortunate news that Daniel Ricciardo will miss at least 2 more races. Ricciardo has begun his rehab program, but is unlikely to return to action until Formula One's Qatar Grand Prix.
Racing returns to Sandown this weekend with the running of the Speed Series. The TCR Australia Series will be the main attraction, but as the home of V8 racing in Melbourne, the National Trans-Am Series and the V8 Touring Series may well be the crowd favourites. No S5000 on the card, instead open wheel fans will be catered to by the Australian Formula Open Series, my apologies. Also on the card will be the combined Australian production car and GT4 Australia Series, featuring 22 cars including 7 GT4 cars.
The year goes by so quickly, and the Northern Hemisphere motorsport season is already coming to its climax with the penultimate round of the IndyCar, MotoGP action in Spain, and in NASCAR, the playoff series has begun, and that's where we'll kick off this week's In Pit Lane International Wrap. Kyle Larson won the Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway on Sunday after holding out Tyler Reddick in the closing laps. Chris Boucher finished third, William Byron was fourth, and Ross Chastain rounded out the top 5. There were plenty of dramas in the race. Ostron Sidrick and Ty Gibbs wrecked in turn 2 to set up a 1-lap restart to the finish of stage 2. Alex Bowman and Daniel Suarez wrecked in turn 1 in an incident that also took out Harrison Burton and brought out the 7th caution of the race. Bush got loose and triggered a multi-car wreck on the front stretch that collected Gilliland, McDowell, Bell and Hamlin that set up the restart with 31 laps remaining. Larson had entered the championship playoffs as the 6th seed, but now heads to Kansas next weekend in 2nd place behind his Hendrick Motorsports teammate Byron. Playoff drivers locked out the top 7 positions in the final running order. With 1 round yet to run, Alex Palou has wrapped up the 2023 IndyCar season with a win at Portland. The Spaniard started from pole position and led for most of the race, holding off a late challenge by Felix Rosenqvist. Palou made his final pit stop on lap 79 and emerged in front of Rosenqvist, who had to pit under a caution period. Palou was then able to nurse his tyres to the finish and secure his race and title victory. Rosenqvist finished 2nd with Scott Dixon 3rd. Scott McLaughlin finished the race in 9th place, while Power was well back in 25th. The race saw a number of incidents, including spins by Will Power, Romain Grosjean and Colton Herta, and a collision between Alexander Rossi and Marcus Ericsson. Alexio Spargaro has made history at the Grand Prix de Catalunya as he led a historic Aprilia 1-2 over the line. Teammate Maverick Vinales led for much of the race before being caught and passed by his teammate, but it marked a milestone day for the factory. Jorge Martin on the Prima Pramac Racing Ducati completed the podium. There was major drama on the first start after a scary multiple-rider crash at Turn 1, involving Enya Bastianini, Johan Zarco, Alex Marquez, Marco Bezzecchi and Fabio Di Gianantonio. Reigning champion Pecco Bagnaia wasn't involved in the original incident, but he crashed heavily on the exit of the first chicane. While he was lying on the track, he was hit by the KTM of Brad Binder in every rider's worst nightmare. Remarkably, after examination at the medical centre and at the General Hospital of Catalunya, Bagnaia was confirmed to have suffered no serious injuries in the incident. Leaving hospital, the factory Ducati rider was confident, in fact, that he'd return to continue the defence of his MotoGP championship next weekend at Misano. And it's drag racing's biggest weekend of the year with the annual NHRA Nationals, the Big Go at Indianapolis. Defending top fuel champion D'Antron Brown ran a 3.77 with a 9 at 528.73 to defeat Steve Torrens in the final round, winning his 2nd straight race this season. In Funny Car, Ron Capps paid tribute to the famous Don Prudhomme Snake Funny Car and took a popular win over J.R. Todd. Matt Hartford won his first US Nationals title in Pro Stock, going 6.624 at 332 to defeat Fernando Corrada Jr. in the championship round. Defending world champion Chris Thorne won in Pro Mod, beating Justin Bond in the final. And on 2 wheels, Matt Smith won Pro Stock Motorcycle, clinching the victory when Hector Arana Jr. jumped early and brought a cherry. You're watching In Pit Lane. We're going to take a break now, but when we come back, we will have our special guest. Clay Richards will be joining us, and coming up a little bit later on, Matt Cynner. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Get the phone ringing for your business with website development and SEO services from Online Invent. Visit onlineinvent.com.au.
Yes, and a very special thank you once again to our friends at Online Invent who make the show possible. It's we sort of say this every week. I mean, these shows, even though that this is a community television show and nobody gets paid here, there are certainly expenses. There are expenses in terms of catering, and when we go away for different events, there's certainly a big cost there. There's also equipment that needs to be changed as well. A lot of our stuff is really out of date now, and we'd love to be able to update it. So we really do need the help of sponsors, and thank you to Roy and all the team at Online Invent who have made it possible. Remember, if you're looking for a website for your business, for your car club, for your event, contact Online Invent. They know not just all about all of the online marketing stuff, which is really important, but they also know a lot about motorsport as well. So you're going to be talking to people who speak your language. So contact Roy and the team at Online Invent at onlineinvent.com.au. And once again, we thank Online Invent for their support for Channel 31, RMI TV, and all of us here at In Pit Lane. Now, joining us tonight on the program as a bonus song for our people watching live on Facebook, and also for all of you watching on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, is Matt Cynner. He's playing around all over the place in Melbourne.
He is getting around everywhere.
He is getting around.
Pick a suburb.
Well, pick a suburb indeed. Pick a venue. He's going to be September 14. He'll be down with the Mr. Boogeyman
One
bar.
of our favourites, Jez and the gang over there.
Jez
Wonderful
and Jax
host.
and all of the gang at the Mr. Boogeyman bar in Collingwood.
But there's a lot of weeknights, there's some weekend stuff. He's all over the shop, and so he's putting himself out there.
And there you can see some of the dates there. The Red Betty Bar at October 6th at Lucky 13. If the auto queue went in the right direction, I'd be able to tell you the rest of the gigs as well. He's also at the which workers? There are lots of workers clubs.
There is lots of
workers club?
Is it the traditional workers club, the one that's been around for decades? Yes,
It's
that's
the
the one.
Fitzroy Workers Club. It's not
real...
so don't go to the Dandenong Workers Club. If you go to the Dandenong Workers Club, you won't see Matt. You'll probably see me.
I was about to say you'll see him.
You'll see me. You probably have a Friday afternoon at about sort of drinking with Curly. But right now,
and chewing your ear off and shouting you drinks
as well. But right now, let's start to hear from Matt Cynner and oh yeah. Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, it's a couple of busy weeks ahead at Sandown International Motor Raceway in the fringe of the suburban curtain, where this weekend coming up is the Shannon's Speed Series. The week after, of course, the Sandown 500 returns, and our guest tonight will be at both meetings. This week he'll be racing in TCR. The following week he'll be in his regular Toyota 86. To find out about both events, please welcome back to the program Clay Richards. Clay, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks for having me.
Now, let's talk about the first things first. This weekend, TCR. You've raced one round of the TCR earlier in the year. How did this deal come together?
Yes, so obviously it was a great opportunity to do the first TCR round at Winton. We were on board a Shannon's Insurance Audi ran by Melbourne Performance Centre, and at that point in time, we didn't plan on doing too many more rounds, and then this opportunity with Gary Rogers Motorsport and Hangchar Forklifts and the Bargwana family came about as well. And yeah, look, it's a great opportunity, and I'm really thankful to both.
So the car you're driving this week is this the car that Ben drove earlier in the year, or is this another car?
No, so I believe this is a car that was raced last year, but I think an international driver drove it. Other than that, I'm not too sure of its previous history, but it is a relatively new car.
There's cars everywhere at that GM/RM workshop anyway. You can look in a corner and there's stuff there that they have sitting there for years and they go, what was that? And wait, yeah, so I'm sure they've got a few more TCRs. Actually, speaking to Barry when he was here last time, he said they've got a lot at the farm as well though too. So they're just hanging from the rafters everywhere. But we're not surprised. But great to get it out again as well though too. Obviously got some international pedigree. How did you find the first round up at Winton, up north earlier in the year? You said you got the bug now.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It really exceeded our expectations. We came into the round just wanting to learn about the series and the cars, and we got a podium on debut in race 2, which was amazing.
How different are they to drive? I mean, you're coming from Formula Ford and then the Toyota, both traditional rear-wheel drive cars.
Yeah.
How different is it driving something like this? I mean, there's quite a bit of power in these things. So how difficult are they to drive?
Yeah, obviously the coming from rear-wheel drive cars and jumping into a front-wheel drive cars, there's a bit of a difference there. But I think you just alter your technique a little bit just to suit the car, and it's not too bad. But the transitioning for me wasn't too bad.
Is that technique, you need to get some heat in the tyres as well though too sometimes?
Yeah, especially in the rear tyres, because the rear tyres aren't driven, it's pretty hard to get heat in those tyres. So you get plenty of heat in the front tyres, but it takes usually almost 2 laps before you start to feel something in the rear. And
that seemed to be one of the secrets to Will Brown's success when he was racing. Everybody said whatever he does, he seems to get his rear tyres up to temperature much quicker than anybody else, and that was a huge advantage over the first couple of laps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So racing the TCRs at Sandown, a very different. I think the last time I saw TCRs at Sandown, they put on a great race because you've got lots of opportunities for slipstreaming. And is this the sort of race you're expecting on the weekend?
Oh yeah, for sure. There'll definitely be some really good racing, and Sandown's it always produces that kind of racing, which is fantastic for not only the fans, the viewers at home as well.
What do you think of it? I guess we grew up with Sandown, and everybody of my generation sort of loves it. But as a younger guy, I mean, obviously you've been part of it and watched it all your life. But as a driver, I mean, what do you think of Sandown? I mean, is it still a track that sort of young drivers like yourself really enjoy driving at?
Yeah, it's an awesome track. You see it on paper and it looks pretty simple, but when you actually drive it, there's a whole bunch of different surface changes on the track as well, which makes it really unique compared to some other tracks around Australia. So it's a track that just throws everything at you.
Flipping now to the obviously the Toyota 86, you've had a few gremlins in that. You haven't had the best of luck for a while now, isn't it? There's always something cropping up like that. Have you got it tucked up, all ready to go? Finally tuned out, going to break out of its box, I suppose, in a couple of weeks' time as well. You'll be looking forward to it because you've even raced it up at Bathurst. That must have been fun as well, though, too, since we haven't seen you last. Yeah. I mean, obviously this year has been a bit up and down, and we've showed some signs of some really good pace throughout the year, but we just haven't had the luck by our side. But we've got great support from Shannon's and Penrite as well, and and Bathurst. What was that like?
Yeah.
How fast did you click it down Conrod on an 86?
In an 86, I think we only got about 220, which is fairly quick.
That's
but
double the speed you can do on a normal road.
Yeah, exactly. But you see a supercar, they're doing nearly 300, but it's
There's a lot more error on those though.
Yeah.
But I imagine they'd be pretty. The Toyotas would be pretty fun over the top because they're a good handling car.
Absolutely. There's the cars through there are almost flat through the top, but it's an awesome track, especially in those cars.
And with your 86, it's just you and Dad mostly on the tools, just prepping it all the time, isn't it? You're getting a little bit of help and advice and some parts sometimes, but you're just basically backyarders doing it yourselves, aren't you?
Yeah, we do it as a family really. So my mum, my sister is involved as well. Dad is on the tools. Mum does all the catering and makes sure we're all fed, and my sister does all the videography.
Is that? Just a family getting into
it's really a family.
But it
family
does
deal,
show,
yeah.
I mean, like, because obviously, I mean, you're a third generation racer. I mean, your family's been around racing all the time, but yet it's still obviously something that really draws the family together. As I said before the show, we haven't seen Jim for a while. The people would like to know, your grandfather, how's Jim at the moment, and does he pop out occasionally and see you, or does he give you any advice?
Yeah, he comes out to all the local
Particularly
events.
in the wet. Does he?
I was going to say, have you invited him to maybe a racetrack in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah. He'll be there at Sandown on the weekend, which is good. But yeah, he likes to watch it at home as well. He can see a lot more on the TV. But every now and then he'll pop out to a track.
So driving the two different sorts of cars, I mean, you get sort of, I suppose you could look at it in a couple of ways. You could look at this week as practice for the week after, but because they're such different cars, I mean, do you just sort of have to just put it in two separate compartments within your mind and say that's this week, that's next week, and apart from the fact that we're turning in the same direction, that's about as much as we have in common.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously they're two different cars, so I'm just going to take it just weekend by weekend, and with TCR I'm going to really soak it all in and learn as much as I can, because the two cars are very different, the Peugeots and the Audis. So yeah, look, I'm just taking it race by race.
You're still doing a full season, obviously in the 86 though as well too.
Yep.
So that's still your goal. So it's going to be, you're still. That's a lot to do running two, right? You're trying to blend into another one, trying to hybrid into another series. But is that your aim next year as well too, to maybe pass on the 86 to somebody else in all its streams, and step up and do a full season in TCR?
Yeah, ideally the next step would be something like TCR, but we're also looking at some other options as well. We still haven't made a decision yet, but TCR is definitely high on the cards. Trans-Am, Porsche Sprint, Super 3, Super 2.
Well, certainly there's pedigree in Porsche. Hey, listen, we're going to take a break. We're going to hold you there for a moment. Yep. We're going to take a break now on In Pit Lane. When we return, we'll have more from our special guest, Clay Richards, also live music from Matt Cynner. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Rev up your support for young local motorsport talent and the future of TV. Join us in the fast lane with In Pit Lane, Australia's only primetime free-to-air motorsport news and magazine show. Help us drive dreams. Donate via Patreon today. Visit patreon.com/In Pit Lane now and become part of the pit crew. In Pit Lane and Channel 31. Your community, your TV. Yes, the In Pit Lane Patreon page. Look, to be honest with you, Patreon has been really confusing. We've had all sorts of ups and downs with Patreon, but
a bit like Qantas at the moment.
Yeah, well, yes. Thank you, Jetstar, by the way, for ruining.
Oh yeah, that's right. You had a Qantas/Jetstar experience over the weekend.
Yes, on Thursday.
Killed half your holiday.
Yeah, well, at least it didn't kill me. We got home safely. That was the main thing. I was going to say,
at least you're not missing a few million dollars in points as well, like the rest of the world.
I'm missing points, that's for sure. We won't go there, but anyway, yes, I lost a lot of points over COVID. They decided when we couldn't travel to take all of my frequent flyer points away. But I'm not bitter at all. But no, look, as I said before about the sponsorship of the program, one of the ways that that you can help support us here on Channel 31 and on In Pit Lane is, of course, if you watch the show and you enjoy it, what we're asking for is like if you'd like to show some support. We've got some great supporters who help us out with Patreon. And as you saw at the start of the show, if you become a platinum member, and that's a $25 a month. This is basically not for individuals so much, but for companies or clubs or anything like that. $25. We'll put your logo at the start of the program, and we'll give you and you'll have our undying love and gratitude for the rest of all eternity. So,
or not just yourself. If you know someone else or a business or a company out there that maybe want to sponsor us, obviously not take over our big mantle, because Roy and Online Event are absolutely the bee's knees these days and have been for a while. But we're always looking for new sponsors. We can assist, and as you said, you're going to give them a giddy up and promote them as well too. Jump on board, because if you don't know yourself, suggest it to other people out there. You never know. A bit of a word of mouth. It's always worked since the dawn of
I
time.
think the interesting thing, and Clay would know this as well, I mean, like you've been very fortunate with the family, with Shannon's for a start, I mean, because they got on board with, that loyalty in the family. They got on board with Granddad, and then they got on board with your father, and now they're on board with you. That must mean a lot to you, to have that sort of, that ongoing support over 3 generations.
Oh, absolutely.
Almost unique, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah, it's really cool to be represented, Shannon's represented my grandpa and my dad, so to carry, I suppose, that, representing them in my racing as well is something really special, absolutely.
Is that Grove I see as well there too?
No.
So this is, we got MCC Group, RPM High,
that's right.
Sign Zone.
And Penrite, they're all in the we got the Sign Zone sort of helped us out in the early days of In Pit Lane, and Penrite was one of our major sponsors in the days with John Diamond, the late John Diamond, the founder of Penrite.
Open days down there at Penrite and Cranbourne are awesome as well
great.
too, aren't
Fantastic.
they?
Yeah, so they're terrific. They've been terrific sponsors of all sorts of motorsport, including In Pit Lane. But yes, if you'd like to help us out, we're going to sort of sort out the Patreon as soon as possible, and we'll get it all sorted out hopefully. But if you would like to go to our Patreon page, it's at patreon.com/inpitlane, and then you can find out all about the Patreon page.
One more selfless, shameless plug is another thing as well too we haven't mentioned for a while. Let's jump on our YouTube as well channel, on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. As Brett used to say, hit the bell, ring it, jump on, hit likes. Obviously, it's been growing for a long time. Will do, but you're really going to get some great stuff because we've all Brett's been putting in conjunction with Roy from Online Event as well too, putting some of our retro programs up as well. Though,
yeah, we've got some more old shows to go up. We've also got.
You can also get our current ones, but a week or two later when you find the time when you're
you get
jet
them
setting around
half
the
an hour.
country.
Yeah, half an hour later, and you get the bonuses. You get the stuff like we had with Matt before. That's sort of online exclusives.
When you're not jet setting around Australia, Brett puts it on, and you can actually catch up on the show. So, watch a Clay Richards show from about 4 years ago. There you go. 2019.
2019. So there you go. So anyway, yes, so support it out there, and then the website. And speaking of just let people know the website coming up on the In Pit Lane website over this weekend. Goodwood, the Goodwood Revival is on this weekend, and there will be links and coverage of the Goodwood Revival on inpitlane.com. A really classic international historic meeting. That's coming up this weekend.
A bit like the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger was saying, the Boogeyman Bar, very old, but very classic and worth
great
every minute.
One of the great historic meetings. Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, I guess tonight Clay Richards will be in action at Sandown this weekend in the TCR as part of the Shannon's Speed Series, and also the following week out at the Sandown 500 meeting as well. Speaking of the Sandown 500 meeting, I mean, obviously, every young driver is sort of saying, "I want supercars is the way they want to go." Have you had any discussions with teams about sort of getting perhaps a Super 2 drive or something like that for the future?
Yeah, I've definitely thrown my name out there for sure, but. Yeah, look, it's still early days at the moment.
Have you done any testing or driving in any other vehicles other than TCR and 86?
No, I haven't. No. Oh, I did. I did the GRM Combine at the start of the year.
That's right. Yeah, you had a hell of a lot of fun. 8 of you down Tassie, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tassie, Simmons Plains and Baskerville.
Yeah.
So drove the Trans-Am, the TCR car, and the S5000, which was
all right.
a
Come
lot
on,
of fun.
put them in order, 1, 2, or 3, and then come on. I know you like having your kids or your dogs or your pets or something like that with your favourite S5000. Come on.
Yeah,
or the
S5000 was pretty fun. The TCR car was a lot of fun as well.
Obviously, you're still playing that ball.
Yeah. I like them all. I can't pick favourites.
All right, come on. You must have an open wheeler or the tin top. Which was
I like them both. What in
51, 49%.
I do like the S5000. That was pretty cool. So
the thing is, we find out like every driver we've spoken to who has driven the S5000, whether it's been in a race or it's been in a test, every single driver has said loved it absolutely, and yet they're really struggling to get the fields together, and the future is looking somewhat uncertain for the category right now. From your point of view, I mean, as you enjoyed it so much, what's stopping you, if anything, to get? Is it just money, or are there other reasons why more young people aren't jumping into S5000?
Yeah, I think for us personally, it would be financial. For
100 grand right now, S5000. Come on, not getting out of it. 100 grand right now. I threw out to you. Which one would you drive, the Trans-Am or the
Man,
Putting you real on the spot.
I know.
Put it this way: how long did you do it? How long was it for a week? 4 days?
Yeah,
3 or 4 days.
4 days.
And how many laps did you do in each, or did you do a half day in each?
We did 2 days in the Trans-Am and then about half a day to a day in the S5000. So.
And Marcus Ambrose was involved in all of that as well.
Yeah,
So what was the feedback you got from Marcus? I mean, obviously you've got all that experience with your own family and with obviously your dad's friends and people he's driven with over the years. And but what did you get? What specifically did you learn from Marcus and with his experience?
Yeah, I learnt a lot in the Trans-Am from Marcus because he's got that experience over racing in NASCAR overseas and other stock cars as well. So yeah, in regards to the Trans-Am, Marcus was really, really helpful. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is that something you're interested in at all in looking at? I mean, if apart from supercars, obviously we spoke with Elliot Barber last week. There is a log jam at supercars right now. I mean, people, a lot more people want to get in the opportunities. What about overseas in things like GT3, GT4, TCR, those sort of categories? There are opportunities like in Asia, Europe, the United States. Are you looking at any overseas things?
Oh, look, if the opportunity presents itself, absolutely. I'd love to go race in the US, whether it's sports cars or even along the open wheeler route as well. Even in Europe as well, with TCR as well, you get plenty of opportunities. Ben Barguana, who races in TCR, is a perfect example. He's doing some overseas stuff in TCR as well in the world tour.
And a couple of great circuits he went to too.
Yeah, absolutely.
If an organisation, we haven't got much time, we're going to wind this up, but if an organisation, you're just a big fan of, and glad Brett brought up the combine down there in Tassie, should there be something more universal on a yearly basis, maybe done on the mainland? Could you see the benefits of like 5, 10 representatives, and how do you choose it?
I'm not sure, to be honest, but I think the program that Gary Rogers run is an awesome program, and you get the most out of it for sure.
Okay, well, good luck on the weekend. Good luck on both weekends. We'll see you out there certainly this weekend at the Speed Series. Head out there and say hello to Clay Richards. But for now, Clay, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us at home as well. Now, joining us on the program to play us out tonight is Matt Cynner. He's a local singer-songwriter, and he's playing all over Melbourne at the moment at the Mr. Boogeyman Bar on the 14th. He's at the Red Betty Bar. He's at the Lucky 13. He's at the Workers Club in Fitzroy. He's on social media absolutely everywhere, but right now he's here, and he's going to take us out tonight. So until we see you next week here on In Pit Lane on Channel 31 and the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, until we see you next week, this is Matt Cynner and Burned in Flames. Good night.
It's the dawn of a revolution, waking up to their solution. It's a call to a world that's burning, rising up, there is no turning back. Take